Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Well, let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story is one that we did cover a year ago, but since apparently has had a couple more updates to it as well. So if you want to skip certain parts of it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. And there is trigger warnings on this one of obsessive behavior, stalking and harassment, systemic failures. So again, if you want to skip it, please feel free to do so. It's from Fed Up to Bed Up, who says, hairstylist has been taking/keeping my hair. I'm weirded out. I'm also going to be vague because obvious reasons. I'm 30s female and my stylist is 40s. I got my haircut today at a stylist I've been using for about 9 months now. I think this is my 6th appointment with them. I usually do a trim or cut/style. Today I went from long hair, high, lower back to an A-line bob. Again, since I started seeing this person, I usually get current style maintenance/trim. This time was a dramatic length adjustment, so they took a picture of the cut length in the floor to add to their social media, then intending to add before/after hours too. That's all totally fine and normal. They go grab a broom, sweep up the hair and place the dustpan on the counter for a bit. Again, normal. They grab the broom and pan and head to the back of the shop. They're gone a few minutes, no biggie, then they go out to smoke. But here's where it gets weird. The bathroom is in the back of the shop too. I need to go and step into the back. I don't really notice anything on the way into the bathroom. I go and start to head back out, but I notice my name on a small clear tote on the table. It has no lid and it has my hair in it. At first I didn't really think much of it, but I look closer and see it's not just today's discarded hair, but looks like at least a few of my trim sessions, mixed with, it looked like potpourri, and a little sand or something, and printed pictures of the cut hair with dates. The printer is sitting right next to it with today's discarded hair pick in the tray. There didn't seem to be any other containers like this when I looked around. It was fucking weird, so I took a pic on my phone. Honestly, didn't know what to think or do, I went back into the salon. They came back in and I mentioned that I went to the restroom, and they seemed to freak out a little, but didn't mention it. I didn't really know what to say, so I just let them finish styling my hair, paid, and left. As a socially anxious introvert, this was my nightmare. I got home and the more I looked at this picture, the more ick I got. I ended up texting them an hour ago, sending the picture and requesting they remove the weird box of me and asking for an explanation. I said, hey, so I saw this and I didn't know what to make of it. Can you help me understand what this is and why you have it? I'm not comfortable with you having this and request you please discard the contents. Also, even though I love my cut, I believe it's for the best if I find a different stylist. They haven't responded. Lol. What the fuck? A commenter says, if anyone is similarly horrified about this post and curious what the fuck the explanation could be, it really reminds me of the book Perfume, the story of a murderer. Really creepy parallels that might explain part of the stylist's motives. Basically, it's about a person or group of people becoming enamored with this beautiful girl's hair, her pheromones, and becoming obsessed with trying to recreate it and find a formula or technique to bottle and recreate her essence, until it gets even more fucked up. There's also a German TV series based on the book that's really well done and has parts that sound really similar to this story. Hope OP stays safe. Considering it's a small town, I would move if humanly possible. Commenter says, OP, I heard your story on a YouTube channel. At the risk of necroing this post, I believe what you are going through might be a magical spell of sorts. In a lot of witchcraft traditions, people believe that nail clippings, hair, etc. can all have properties to give you power over another person. Is there any reason to believe your stylist might be into anything like this? Like, does she talk about crystals, come from a place where some magic tradition is regularly consulted or anything like this? I would seriously look into Googling her because odds are she might have a presence online in these sort of circles. My guess would be she's trying to influence you to keep coming back to her salon, or maybe, just maybe, to give us something she needs. Money, influence over you, joining an MLM, whatever. Please update us if you find anything out. So a week after that one, Opie comes in with, it's been about a week, and with the holiday I've been all over the place, but I ended up going to law enforcement to make a report last Monday. I'll likely end up going back if this person keeps contacting me like they have been. I'll give a little timeline. Last Saturday, hair curtain discovered a weird tub full of my hair. Text stylist about weird tub and said I'll be finding a new stylist. Hairstylist didn't respond. This was where I left off in the last post. A lot has happened since then. Sunday I woke up to a bunch of texts from the stylist. It woke me up because even though I have do not disturb on my phone, I have a setting that overrides that if there are repeated contact attempts over 3 in case of emergencies. Here's what I got. Copied and pasted. 3:49 AM. I don't recommend going to a different stylist because of this. It's not a big deal. Small towns and people talk, and you may not find anyone that will take you after this, so I'd reconsider. I don't like threats. 3:51 AM. So I have your biological material, and it's my property now. I can do what I want with it. I kept it because I can, and it means a lot to me. 3:54 AM. Why you send the pic? I know what it looks like. It's mine. 4 AM. You need to respond to me because I think it's a misunderstanding about what this is, and you saying you're switching stylists has me triggered. I do good work. You said so. 4:04 AM. I also charge a $350 client separation fee, so yeah, you can't just say you're switching stylists with more consequences. And I know you said you already tried a few people before me, and there's not many beauty people in the area. 4:11 AM. Asking for an explanation for a stylist having a hair salon is crazy. Where else would you find hair at? I didn't do anything wrong, but I will get rid of it if you're going to cry about it. But only if you say you won't be switching to anyone else for your hair care. You mean a lot as a client and always tip well, and I do good work. So it doesn't make sense, and you know that. So maybe don't threaten someone who does your hair or hurt their heart by making accusatory statements. OP continues, I didn't respond to any of those that morning because it was so insane to me. I need to process things fully before I make a decision on how to deal with it, so I just didn't respond. Sunday afternoon, I start getting phone calls. This person called me 14 times that afternoon. About every other call, they left a voicemail. Most of the voicemails just said call me back or text me back, but 2 of them were unhinged. I'm going to paraphrase, but the gist of the first one was, sounds like they're crying. Call me back. I'm getting scared you won't come back to me for your hair for real. I just like how your hair feels. That's why I kept it. Call me. The second unhinged message was left late Sunday night at 11:38 PM, and it said, I got rid of it except for one lock. I found out I like watching your hair burn more than I like keeping it. I didn't respond to any of those messages, calls, or texts. The whole thing had me freaked out now. I decided by that time I was taking Monday off work to go to the police, even if they couldn't do anything. I wanted a filed report of the weirdness. I woke up Monday to an email from the stylist with an invoice of $375 for client breach of contract fee as a chargeable line item. Again, copy and pasting here. The email body was just for being a bitch. It was sent from their business email too, so they're really doing everything they can to ruin themselves. Even if I had a contract with this nutter, which I don't, the original amount was for $350. They can't even get their extortion fees right. I did email them back stating that we had no contact and to cease all further communication with me from this point forward. I got ready and started heading to the police station around 9:45 Monday morning. I live in a rural area, so there are portions of my drive to and from our main house that doesn't have cell reception. When I finally got to town, I had 4 voicemails. I knew immediately who they were from. I talked to one of the officers on staff. They took my statement to copy the email and asked me to forward all the texts and screenshots of the numbers, of course. They said at least the calls and texts could be considered menacing and harassment, but the voicemail where they mentioned how they like burning my hair was potentially concerning. The officer advised I contact a legal representative in case this person tries to take the bogus invoice to a civil suit court, and they said I'm welcome to change my number. But having the piling evidence if they continue to contact me after I explicitly told them not to, and the email would only help me. I reached out to a lawyer Tuesday and left a detailed message regarding the situation. They're apparently out of the office until next Wednesday for the holiday, so we'll see if they have any advice. I've since received many texts and calls from the stylist. They sent a happy Thanksgiving text on Thursday morning as well. Regardless, they've given me a lot of evidentiary material to work with, but I'm so unsettled. I can't wait to hear from the lawyer this week. So a week after that update, OP comes in with a mini update and says, mini update. I woke up to new comments and requests for updates. Firstly, I am okay and safe for now. The person has continued to contact me on a regular basis via phone and email. I do have personal protection that I'm comfortable with and can wield with accuracy, but I'm nearly certain this person does not know where I live, so I don't anticipate any type of confrontation here. Our house and property has complete camera coverage as well. If anyone or anything shows up, we're well aware. I will be posting a more in-depth update, with more texts and emails up to this point and regarding a specific incident that happened on Friday. On Tuesday, I have an appointment to speak with another officer then to discuss the potential of criminal action and legal consequences for that stylist as a result. Thank you all for your concern and the validation that this is absolutely insane. I'll leave you with a text from this past week, one I think you'll enjoy, question, use for a model of how not to make friends. Once again, copied and pasted. 5:12 a.m. Don't never say never. You're never coming back, don't make me laugh. I don't want your ass back. You can beg me though. Might help. So it was 4 days after that OP updated again and says, I didn't expect the crazy amount of people following this. Here's the long awaited post. Also, long post. Sorry for the delay. I think I mentioned before I'm a processor, so it takes me a while to work through my thoughts and feelings on things. This situation and update might not be as satisfying as many would have hoped, but here it goes. I met with law enforcement again this past Tuesday. My husband and I drove over early that morning because I was also meeting up with a lawyer I'm working with. Aside from the near constant texts, calls and emails, I wanted to pursue legal action for a specific issue. Allegedly, the stylist had tried to have my credit card cancelled. Apparently they used the last 4 digits of my card, called the customer service line for the card and tried to cancel it. I got a call from the fraud department shortly after this person attempted to do this, trying to verify everything to see if I actually wanted to close my account and dissolve my credit line with them. To be clear, the stylist was not successful in their alleged attempt. They couldn't provide basic information you need for such things like my actual last name. It's unusual and they gave a last name that was almost similar. Date of birth, address, etc. Apparently they thought they could accomplish this with just my name, phone number and the last 4 digits of the card number. I didn't cancel the card but did request a new one for obvious reasons. I had no clue why they would want to cancel my card. To inconvenience me? Yep, that's exactly why, allegedly. When I spoke with my credit card company, they agreed to send over the recording of the person that called, as well as the phone number the call originated from, as long as the request came from law enforcement with a warrant. They gave me a phone number and reference number for the police to reach out to directly. The officer began working on that immediately, so that is in progress. I went to my phone company over the weekend, had my phone number transferred to an old phone so I could still receive calls and texts there. I got a new phone number for my actual phone. The old phone and phone number has been turned over to the officer assigned to my case. They did go and speak with this person yesterday. Apparently they're horrified I went to the police and had no idea any of their crazy could be chargeable offenses. According to the officer, there have been no further communications via text or call since their visit, and I haven't received any other emails. A temporary protection and no contact order has been issued against them until the first court date. I have also reached out to the State Board of Licensing with all this information and my complaints. All I can say is they are investigating. Outside of that information, I'm limited on any other information I can share since a legal process against this person has officially begun. We're just waiting to see how this all plays out now. It's been a long few weeks. I'm hoping for the best here. I'm already so relieved to no longer be getting calls, texts or emails constantly. Thank you for all the concern, advice and good wishes. This was meant to be an outlet for me to vent and process, and I'm so grateful you've allowed me to do that with a huge amount of support you have given. So we have more updates in a moment, but the first commenter on that said, I'm glad you're safe and they've stopped contacting you once they realized police enforcement was involved. Shameful they didn't stop until law enforcement was involved. At least you can sleep easily knowing they cannot contact you and do not know where you live. Absolute insanity they attempted to cancel your credit card though. Hope you get the best possible outcome for this situation. I'm so sorry you're going through this. OP replied saying I really appreciate it. It's been a roller coaster for my household for sure. Commodore says, I'm glad you're getting it sorted and have taken this serious. Hopefully the police have scared them enough to permanently leave you alone. You never know what crazy people will do. OP said the officer implied that this person was legitimately Pikachu'd face when they showed up, and the lack of further contact indicates they really didn't have a clue that they were breaking the law. Another commenter says, people amaze me with how crazy they think they can get away with. I'm so glad you're doing everything the right way. OP says, my lawyer has been critical in making sure I'm protected legally and physically. I'm starting to think this person was one of those who uses escalation to get their way or intimidating people into doing what they want them to do. This time, it backfired. I was always kind of left thinking after all these posts so far, is like, is OP the only one? Is there other people? Is there other jars of hair they've been keeping, etc.? But it was 13 months later from that last update that OP comes back in and says, "I'm unsure how satisfying or inflammatory this will be, but I've received tons of comments, DMs, and overall requests for an update. Fair warning, this will be long." I've been reluctant to revisit any of this for a few reasons, all selfish. In general, none of what happened over that last year or so was fun. There was a legal process in which I was granted a 1-year restraining order against the stylist. This process took a while to get to court and been heard with continuations for various reasons, but here is the gist of what happened. The stylist showed up to all the court proceedings, had a variety of allegedly fabricated evidence to show the court that I was the one harassing them. Had supposed screenshots of text from my number threatening to harm them, calling them names, threatening to show up at their business and burn it down. The issue with this evidence? The phone number the texts were coming from was on a phone that was in possession of the officer on my case. I'd already gotten a new phone number by the time these texts were being sent. The officer had a certified readout of the phone's activity while in his possession, and no calls or texts were outgoing after I surrendered that phone. There were none. The stylist seemed very surprised by that information. I don't think they ever considered that I might get a new phone or number. The stylist implied that I had someone else do it, or that I spoofed it from my new number and tried to demand my new number as a part of the discovery of evidence. That was not granted. I did have to have a law enforcement do another certified review of my current phone, and to protect us further, my husband's phone as well, showing that I or anyone I was in contact with had not downloaded any spoofing software to use against this person or attempted to contact them. That felt icky, but was necessary and also validating. They did hire a lawyer, but the lawyer seemed very cowed. I really believe the representation was not confident in their case, especially with the texts and calls this person was said to have received. The tone, grammar, and language used in those communications were not native to the way I speak or text. I hate text speak and rarely use it, especially with anyone I'm not intimately familiar with. The evidence they presented with the text was riddled with it. I do use slang bestie, but if I don't know you well, you're getting my customer service communications. All that to say, whomever was sending those texts were not me. I don't care to speculate about who did send them, but they read like bad cop dramas. Ultimately, the bench trial was in my favor. The stylist was given no contact with a 1-year restraining order, ordered to pay all my legal fees and a small monetary amount. To date, that has not been settled. On to the aftermath. A few weeks go by and things took a turn. Random notes on my car would pop up when I would go grocery shopping about what a bitch I am and I'll get what's coming to me. Vehicles slowing down in front of our house and throwing eggs, or honking their horn over and over in the middle of the night. I'm not stupid. I know who it is, and now they have my home address with all the restraining order filings. Thankfully, I also have cameras everywhere on my property. I would call the cops. They'd say they'd look into it. It would continue. My tire got slashed when I was at a dinner with my husband. The restaurant did not have any cameras at an angle that would show us who, but I have a good idea. Their salon location was only 2.5 blocks away. Small towns can be great until everyone and their mama knows where you are when you're in town. This goes on for months. We make a report for each and every instance and occurrence. Finally, the cops really started looking into it more. We gave them everything we had. The car on our footage was not registered to Stylist. When the cops went knocking at the owner's house, they claimed they were paid to go piss off this bitch by Stylist, but thought it was a prank situation. They were cited for vandalism and disturbing the peace and were trespassed from our property. That car was never near our property again after that. Stylist was brought in for violating a restraining order. I thought it would be over. It was essentially a slap on the wrist. Cycle continues. Stylist finally spends a few nights in jail after the 5th or 6th instance of violation. Then Stylist files a lawsuit for defamation of character against me for, get this, $200,000. According to my stylist, my defamatory remarks cost them their clientele and license. I didn't know it, but their license had been suspended. I guess my report to the licensing bureau worked. Stylist claimed I cost their yearly salary of $200K. What small town stylist makes this? And demanded reparations for defamation, claiming that my restraining order was granted under false evidence and cost them their reputation and livelihood. I contact my lawyer again, and we start our defense. Lawyer does all the lawyer things. I'm advised I can countersue at this point, but I just want everything to be over. The case doesn't see a judge for a while. We go, both sides are heard, cases drop without prejudice. At this point, we've had enough. Once the restraining order is up for renewal, we make a different choice. We moved. We sold our house, traded in our old cars, and dipped. I didn't want this person to ever have access to me or mine again. It's been about 5 months in our new home, and things have been exponentially more peaceful, but I'm so pissed off that it came to us moving. I loved our house, our community, and the area we lived in. I'm sorry I hadn't updated. I'm just really hate thinking about this one time I had a weird as fuck encounter with my hairstylist that led to nearly a year of hell. So that's it. That's the update. At time today. It's a new year separate from the crazy. So here it is. And honestly, that's all I'm giving after everything. I just want to forget it. So Opie comes in one more time, some weeks later after the last update, and says, saw this pop up on Scaling Stories. I love them on TT and couldn't believe people still cared enough to share. Thank you. But there is a moment I failed to mention that my husband said you'll may be interested in. So while the notes, the tire slashing and egging was happening, the stylists found themselves in a bit of a pickle, which is what ultimately helped us get police to act and arrest. The community Facebook page started posting about some nut job vandalizing cars and houses and harassing people. I guess one of the folks who worked at the courthouse/sheriff's office, they're in the same building, kept seeing all the reports I was making about my car, house and all the other stuff. Like I said, small towns are fun. They were nosy enough to want the gossip about it, but not enough to look into it and see that it was only one family in the community being victimized by the nut job. The post, of course, had everyone up in arms claiming they were victimized too, but never reported it because they didn't know it was happening to others. At first, it didn't click that it was my situation that everyone was talking about until it was mentioned that tires were slashed at a popular local restaurant. But you know who clocked it right away and couldn't help themselves in commenting? The Stylist. They commented on every post about the psycho targeting people like this with stuff. Paraphrasing, you need to stay out of it. You don't know what these people have done to have this happen to them. Maybe they aren't so innocent and deserved it. They also were calling out people who claimed to be a victim too with stuff like, you know damn well that's a lie, nothing happened to you. Because Stylist was only targeting me and had to defend themselves. They always commented variations of the same thing on every comment, calling them crazy and a shitty person. Chat, when I say Stylist got dog walked in the comments, I'm not exaggerating. It was one of the most validating moments during the worst part of the whole ordeal. People called them vile for trying to defend someone who was clearly crazy and a garbage human being, was flamed for victim blaming, had their business page reported and rape bombed by keyboard warriors, because of course Stylist was commenting on the post using their business profile and was subsequently banned from the page. Their business Facebook had a 1-star rating and eventually disappeared. I stayed out of all this completely, never revealing I was the person they were defending, just taking screenshots of the Stylist responses for later evidence. The posts eventually got removed after I gave all the screenshots of the post to the detective working on my case, with them verifying that their own screenshots from the official sheriff's office account, and sheriff had a talk with a court employee about posting stuff they see that comes across their desk. The worker had very proudly began their post with, I work at the courthouse and this is happening in the community, and were told under no uncertain terms to refrain from that type of action moving forward. Anyway, this is probably the only genuinely funny thing to happen during the hell I was living through and thought I'd share. Thanks again for all the support and well wishes. We are okay now and working to rebuild the happiness we had before in a new place. I can't believe how frustrating it is that Opie and the family had to move away because of this person. It's incredibly annoying. However, at the same time, I am glad that Opie was able to get away safely and hopefully this person leaves them alone. I sort of wonder what happens going forward though. Even though Opie's out of it, this person was turning on people in the comments, so they're going to start harassing other local people now because of the Facebook comments, etc. I know this is going to sound extreme, but like the behavior of this person turning up in the Facebook comments basically saying that they deserved it and all this kind of stuff, inserting themselves, almost reminded me of, I watch a lot of true crime kind of stuff, and I know this is not quite that extreme, but it always reminds me of the people that, in some cases, the murderers in those stories, that they turn up and they get interviewed on the news. They can't help themselves but try to insert themselves in and get themselves on the news. But Opie had to spend a year of dealing with this harassment, repeated police reports, vandalism, legal fees, and eventually felt so unsafe that she and her husband sold the home that they loved. And it pisses me off, it really does. And even with the restraining order, it didn't magically stop the behavior. Surely they could have clamped down on that a lot harder because she was violating it, but she seemed to just get slaps on the wrist. It just took the piss, didn't it? But going back to the Facebook comments again, I'm glad that the stylist simply couldn't resist commenting and exposing the mindset that everyone sort of suspected that they had. But you do have to wonder what was going through their mind. All this happening, the hair in the jar to begin with, I mean, bloody hell, what was going on with that? That there was some kind of thought process behind this whole thing, and every step of the way, they still thought that they was in the right. And that kind of mindset, it doesn't change overnight. And they still might be out there causing all sorts of shit for someone else, right? Which I find horrifying. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here, and hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.